Back here with Chris Broussard, talking Rockets. So they made the blockbuster trade of this season, swapping out Chris Paul for a younger superstar in Russell Westbrook. And with Westbrook and James Harden reuniting in Houston, two ball-dominant guys who both play the same position, what could possibly go wrong? Well, Charles Barkley has an answer for that, saying the only way that this is going to work is if Russ gives up his point guard duties to Harden. So, Broussard, which player do you think will have to adjust their game more for this to work in Houston?
Well, there needs to be a ton of adjustments from everybody, including Mike D'Antoni. Really, maybe more than anybody.
Is he
but
capable?
I don't know.
Wait, come on.
No, he's a one-trick pony. And like I said, I'm in the minority. No, I'm in the minority. I might even be a minority of one. I don't know how you feel about
Hall of Famer.
I think he's a Hall of Fame coach. Like Don Nelson didn't win a ring.
Yeah, that basketball, man, they like open the door to everybody.
But he is, it is a little different. It's a little different.
Jeez.
But he is a one-trick pony. That's how ball-dominant point guard with the ball. Now, so I would like him to adjust and get more ball and player movement. If he ran something like Golden State runs, I think this could work. However, I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to do his typical thing. And the one that needs to adjust most, I believe, is Harden, because he's the most capable of adjusting. Russ is Russ. Like, you can't play Russ at two guard and expect him to be a great shooter. He's not that. And people will go back to, well, in Oklahoma City, Harden handled the ball when he played with Russ. Russ was at the two. Guess what? Number one, you had Kevin Durant there, who was so great that he makes everything kind of work well. And number two, it was a different NBA. The three-pointer was not nearly as prominent. You also had Dwayne Wade playing off the ball with LeBron. That would be a little tougher today because you need that two guard to be able to shoot and stretch the floor. So I think Russ by himself in Mike D'Antoni's offense with the ball in his hands would be dynamic with the floor spread, high pick and roll, and Harden, because he is a good shooter, has a better.
But is he a good catch?
Well, he hardly did any of it last year.
Because even if he's wide open, if you run to my bap, 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 I got to pat it a few times.
I think he's a better catch and shoot than Russ.
Well, there's no doubt about it.
I hear what you're saying.
But the other
that's why this is going to be a tough fit.
For the catch and shoot stuff for Harden, because he took 1,028 threes last year. Only 70 were catch and shoot. But that's not only because he likes to dribble. It's because no one was creating those shots for him.
They could have. Chris Paul could have.
Okay, but they weren't. My point is that, A, when he didn't have the ball in his hands, he wasn't as active. That's where he needs to adjust. And B, aside from Chris Paul, and even Chris Paul, they didn't have guys on that team who could beat people off the dribble. Austin Rivers is the only dude who could beat people off the dribble, and Austin Rivers...
Well, the team is not made that way.
Sure.
It's not made... I mean, they don't want guys to be able to beat people off the dribble because they're a team based on analytics. Like, beating someone off the dribble is not the best offensive move.
Well, but now they got someone who can in Russ. And so my point is Harden's going to have more catch-and-shoot opportunities. They are not going to be... What the Rockets are going to have is this. Say Harden and Westbrook both, if the way they would like it to be, play 34 minutes a night. They're going to each have then a segment of the game, 14 probably minutes, where they're out there without the other person. But the beginning of the game and the end of the game, they're going to have to be out there together and figure out how to make it work. I actually think Harden is more capable to threaten the defense without the ball than Russ is, because he doesn't ruin your spacing. The problem is when the ball's in Harden's hands, people, even though Chris Paul was a much diminished player, he still could shoot the lights out. And so you had to respect him at the three-point line. Guys will cheat off Russ, they will sag into the lane, and that can ruin some of what Houston does spacing-wise. Flip side to that, though, is Russ has never been on a team where when he has the ball, he's surrounded by shooting. He's never been on a team where you don't have Roberson or Steven Adams or Jeremy Grant in the game to where when he gets to the rim, there's someone waiting for him. They will be able to spread the court and have Russ have options the way he never had in Oklahoma City. And so I think that's an enormous upgrade for Houston. And the durability for Russ, which was one of the reasons they brought in Chris Paul, was to take some of the workload off Harden. He wasn't durable enough to do it. But yeah, of course there is, especially in the beginning, going to be an aspect of my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, for two guys who over the last 3 years have been totally used to every turn being their turn.
Yeah, let's not get confused with this, though. Let's not act as if they could trade for someone that they would have picked Russ. All right, they were stuck with Chris Paul. Chris Paul and Harden could not play another season together. They couldn't bring them back.
Sure.
Because what happened in the NBA this offseason, that was the perfect time for them to get that team together and say, you know something? Man, we should run this back. Man, we're just as good as anyone else. But no, that wasn't the case. They had to get off of Chris Paul's contract. So Nick is saying, oh, they got better. Yeah, they were forced into it because they couldn't bring Chris Paul back in that locker room. To your point, as far as they played together and Harden was the ball handler, neither one of these players had the type of resume. Neither one of these players at that time were iconic, former MVPs of the league. Neither one of them at that time had the ego that they have right now. So to steal my man Shannon, what he said on Friday, he said, "Man, you like ice cream?
Right.
You like mashed potatoes? I like French fries more than I like mashed potatoes. All right, so but I don't like my ice cream and my French fries together. Right. Like, these two guys do not go together. They are trying to fit them together. Now, I know Anthony Davis talked about, oh, we're getting in the NBA where it's positionless. No, it's not. Well,
there's still only one ball.
You can't have a non-shooter at your shooting guard.
Right, that's hard today. Some people have mentioned Walt Clyde Frazier, Earl the Pearl Monroe in 1973.
Come on, and Walt Frazier's still wearing the suits today, but you can't play in the NBA today like that.
No question, and also, Chris, one of the things that enabled that to work was that Red Holzman ran an offense where it was ball and player movement. If you had that type of offense with this, because Russ can flash, Russ can cut. He, as athletic as he is, he could move off the ball. But they don't have that type of offense. They want you standing around and letting one guy create for everybody.
All right, let me ask you this, though, or both of you. Let's just pretend for a moment Chris Paul and James Harden got along great, that none of that stuff happened, that they were as buddy-buddy as they appear to be in the State Farm commercials. Do you think the Rockets still make this move? Because I do, because I think they're better.
No, Russ is not available.
What do you mean Russ is not available?
Like, I mean...
No, Chris Paul, no. Russ is still available.
Yeah,
Paul George is gone, and Russ is available, but Chris Paul and James Harden are as tight as they were 2 years ago. You know, all these commercials together. Because I think the Rockets, one of the reasons that Chris Paul was being shopped is because they didn't get along. But once Russ becomes available, even if they get along great, I think they make this move.
Well, because
Chris Paul's not that good, man.
The health at this stage of his career, and was that decline due to some injuries, just the fit, or what? I mean, obviously it was his worst season.
Right, but so that then brings me.
Let's just see the team that has relied on analytics more than anyone else. Let's see how this fits into their model.
Well, it doesn't fit their analytics. You know that.
It doesn't. But neither did bringing in Dwight Howard.
Neither did Carmelo.
Neither did bringing in Carmelo.
Jimmy Butler, who
right? Listen, they do have an analytical model, but the #1 model in Houston is get me as many Team USA guys as you can find, and we'll figure it out. But they are more talented, they are younger, and they are more durable than they were last year. Now they're a worse three-point shooting team. But that's even before you talk about the disagreements within the locker room. Russell Westbrook is a far better player all around.
No one is arguing. No one even brought that conversation up.
Right.
Is Chris Paul a better player than no one? The show wouldn't last.
They're more talented, but look. I think Golden State showed the NBA again that it's not just all about talent. Sure, when they got Kevin Durant, they were more talented. But before that, 2015, 2016, when they won 73. Individually, Steph, Clay, and Draymond aren't like blowing your mind.
You're not going to put them in some combine test and pick them. No, it's the system. It's move the ball.
That's it. And so it's not just about getting a bunch of great players and making it work.
Yeah.
I agree.
Nick's whole problem in this is Nick's problem. This ain't our problem. Nick's problem is Houston, Daryl Morey, and now they got one of his favorite players. It's everything.
We were talking about the Rockets.
This is Nick's problem. This ain't our problem.
Off Chris Paul and give away things to get off the contract. They instead replaced him with one of the 20 best players in the league. The fit is not perfect, but the team, which pushed Golden State more than any team's pushed a healthy Golden State, just got better, and the conversation.
We don't know if the team got better. They got more talented. I don't know if they got better.
Okay, so that's where we disagree. I think without question they got better.
We got to take a break. I feel like we might talk about this once or 3,000 more times before the season starts. Broussard, stick around. Coming up, did the Lakers put enough around AD and LeBron to win a title? That's next.
Jenna, what you want to talk about? What's your one? What?
Who's better, LeBron or MJ? I just feel like that is less.